Okay, we're outside the shed here and I'm getting the valve off the tractor because the sun's going to come and belt down here soon, but being right next to the shed, this afternoon when I fit it, it should be nice. So what I'm going to do first up, you can see this one here, you can see the oil popping up there, and if I can probably get the camera down, I'll have a go. You can see down on the foot plate there, where I had my safety thongs yesterday, you can still see my oily buddy flip-flop. Yeah, where you put the put the throttle on, it was just dripping oil here everywhere and made a big mess. So I decided that it was time to fix this valve. So last time I did the slashing with it, or topping you might call it overseas, with it, it did the same thing, and I said, right, I'll fix that, and I'll fix that right away. Anyway, this time there's a bit of weather coming, so we were pretty keen to get onto the paddock. So I thought, oh bugger it, I haven't got time for that shit now, so just off we went. But the first thing I'm going to do is, we have 4 pipes here, and I'm going to take the whole valve off the tractor. I could possibly just slide this spool out, but I've chose not to. But we need to mark the hoses here. So there's 4 of them, so we don't need to mark one. This next one here, we could just go 2 and 2 down here. And the other thing is, you can put a cable tie. Is no cable ties, 1, 2, 3, that sort of thing. So it's, rather than put that where I have there, probably on the side here is as good as any. 3, we have to go here. And the one under the back here, we'll just come in here. Now the fittings on the in and out are, yeah, I'll just be able to tuck them each side of the post, so we won't have to worry about that too much. Now, make sure with the tractor off, there's no load. So there's no pressure build up there at all. So that's a good thing. And we'll find a spanner. Yep, 7/8. And when I put the loader on this tractor and I plumbed this up, I put these little turnbuckle type fittings. I'm not sure of the proper name. Actually, that's probably 13/16, not 7/8. Look at that. And the idea is loosen these off and just let them have a little bit of a, oh look at that. Both the same fittings, one's 7/8, one's 13/16. You'd wonder why. But yeah, make sure there's no oil squirting out anywhere for safety's sake. I should have got myself a bit of rag. Okay, now there's some rag in the toolbox, I know. The tractor's still a mess, but the tractor's still a mess after slashing, and I thought, well, I'll give it a bath after we do all this. I probably could have cleaned this a little bit, but it's just not going to matter. It's going to come all out and onto the bench. And I don't have blanking caps for these little fellas, so I'll just wrap the rag around them for the bit that we're doing. I have JIC and flat face O-ring ones, and but I don't have these BSP ones, so. Looks like this one's a little loose anyway. So I'll need to tighten that main fitting up by the looks, but it wasn't leaking there that I could see. Okay, so that one sat down there so you can see where they would sit. I can go right down there out of the way. This fella here. Ooh, sorry about that. This can come down one side of the pole. And this fella here can go down the inside of the pole. I'll have to get a bit of rag and wipe over, or wrap them up a little bit. Oh, I might have those BSB males, the big ones, I don't know. Okay, now what do we have? We have 1, 2, 3 bolts, and they look like, oh bloody metric shit. Yep. Okay. I've got a metric shifter here. See, it says 250 millimeters, 10-inch in bracket. So really, that's a metric shifter. That's oh dear. I might see if I can find some UN O-ring, UN O-ring, UNC, UNF bolts to put in there. The old tractor, she gets used and abused a little bit. It doesn't get the maintenance it probably should, that's for sure. Because there's so much going on, I think, oh yeah, I'll do that. Okay. That's the valve off. Look at the oil under there. No shortage. So this will go over to the parts washer now. We'll wash him all up, and yeah, I'll sit it over on the bench and we'll see what the trouble is. Okay, I've taken it over and given the valve here a rough bath. Yeah, pretty rough, but anyway, we've got to clean it up properly later. So I've loosened these lock nuts here, and I'll just take these levers out of the way. Now on these valves, it looks like a Bearco valve to me, and you can, if you need to mount this upright, or you want it another way, you can screw the lever in here and still work the valve. So these are, I'm pretty sure these, well, I know these are an aftermarket valve. Looks a lot like the Bearco one, but it has a little, that little emblem in the end of the housing, and it has it on the end of the knob, and it's here as well. So, but look, what we might do, I loosened these Allen keys off before filming. Oh shit, fucking didn't do much of that one, did I? Yeah, just sort of makes everything a little bit easier. Quicker for the video, really. That doesn't want to come out, so that might be how they are. I might just put that up that way so you can see what's going on. No, I must have missed him. So how my tractor is set up, this one closest to the tractor is the loader lift. It's your main boom lift. The outer one is dump the bucket and crowd the bucket back. So I think that's a standard how most of them are set up. So that comes up. Now this was a leaky one. There's quite a bit of dirt and rubbish in there. So I'll try and, excuse me, find a little bit of rag over here. And yeah, this tractor, look, it had to sit out in the open for a little while I had it as well. In the early days, but now we've got a shed for it. We've built the carport for it. But that looks okay. I might undo the whole thing properly, just to be different, yeah. And there's the other one. They're quite shitty inside, really. So I will see if we can get new rubbers for here. I don't know if we can or we can't, but surely Hydrolink in town here. We have a good Hydrolink store in town, Richie. Perhaps Hydrolink or Bearco, or this does look a lot like a Bearco valve, but whether it is or not I wouldn't be sure. But that's quite firm in there, so that's good. That's what we like. This one, this was slopping around a little bit in the end of the valve here. You know, this one had a bit more movement in it, but maybe a little more worn. But look, that won't worry us really. It's not something we're going to get too concerned about. So we'll use a bit of brake cleaner. I don't think we need the force, we just need the standard brake cleaner. I got an old cheap crap one that this is the stuff I like to use, CRC brake cleaner. And I have cheap stuff that I've had for years that I've had tucked away, and I'm trying to use that up and get rid of it all. But so on some jobs I do it and some I don't. So okay, now in the end of the valve here, you'll notice that we can't push those valves back and forth. So in the end here is a spring, and the spring holds the control valve in the neutral position. So there's no oil feathering up or down or anywhere like that. So we'll pop these off. Some of them have a detent in here, as in you can flick the lever forward and it'll stay forward until it hits relief. You know, it's like a hydromechanical detent. And some don't. This one doesn't have it. It's just a El Cheapo. And that can go over there for the moment. There we go. Okay, so the main loader control valve should come out now. Now what we need to do on my little stand here, God, I'm getting flash, eh? Okay, on my little stand here, we need to make sure there's no rubbish, no hard dirt, no baked on grease or something like that. There's none of that in here, so we'll use a bit of brake cleaner. And see the little bits of junk there, you don't want that dropping out into the valve. You know, the valve gets halfway through and that bit of shit just drops down in the middle of it. And I know we're going to wash it and all that, but it's just better if those things don't happen. Okay, that looks pretty good. Make sure the hole there's a little bit clean. We don't want to go dragging shit everywhere. So that's looking pretty good. Okay, so you'll remember the lever closest to my seat or the tractor was the dump and crowd. That's the spool, just needs a tidy up, that's about all. The O-rings or the seals, whatever they're using, are in the housing. These little marks here, the little diamonds, they're for feathering, so that when you pull or push on the valve, on the lever, this goes back and forth and it doesn't just go boof and move really quickly. It feathers a bit of oil in before you go to the rider, the fully open position. So what we look for here is scoring, but look, it holds up pretty well. I'd say if there was a leak in the old loader, it'd be in one of the cylinders, not here. That's looking pretty good. And what we also look for here is that this spring's not broken. Now, this spring, you can push him one way and then this washer will come up that way for when the valve gets pulled this way, so it puts tension on here so that when you let go it pops back into this neutral position, and when you push the valve this pushes this way and compresses that spring again the other way, then when you let it go it puts it into neutral. So what you have to look at with these if you have something that's leaking is, and I'll have to go and get an Allen key, is these Allen keys can come loose, and if they come loose and this bolt starts coming out, that means that this valve can slide that way a little bit, and so it'll slop around a little bit as well possibly, and you won't be able to hold the bucket or the loader in a reasonable position. It'll just slop all about. So that's looking good. Now this is the one that was leaking. So this is the dump and crowd. You can see the end there. That's looking okay, even though it had a bit of slop in it. I would say that ball's a bit worn. Probably from dirt over the time, I would imagine. Getting into that broken boot, which, look, I knew it had the broken boot, I just didn't worry about it, You just hop on and go. Once again, this is actually cleaner than the other one, as in the end here, but this will all get looked at. Now, why is it leaking? So, if we look down there, there's an O-ring in here, then there's probably another one in here. Yep, up in there further. So, let's get an O-ring pick. Here's one I prepared earlier. This is the wire for doing the John Deere steerings. Okay, let's have a look at this O-ring. And as I say, this job here, I think I was saying it when I was pulling the valve out, this job here, like pulling that one spool, would be a job that you could reasonably do in place. So, and there, now what can you see? There's a little cut just there. Don't know if you can see that or not. But there's a tiny little cut in the O-ring. The O-ring's still soft, so whether it's got a bit of rubbish through there, I don't know. But we'll replace all the O-rings while we're going. Oh, come on. We use a proper O-ring pick instead of my bent up welding rod. This is a nickel rod, and if you heat them and bend them, or knock the knock the outer off them, heat them and bend them. They are tough. So this, the main loader boom wasn't leaking, and look, that O-ring's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, the other end. O-ring's still soft. Same down here. O-ring's nice and soft. So you can see straight through the holes there. That's pretty well all there is to it. Apart from, I suppose what we can discuss is this fella here. Now, most of these aftermarket control valves, like this one here, they're set, the relief valve is set at 2000 psi, so 2000 pounds per square inch. And you adjust that by undoing the lock nut here and screwing an Allen screw in here, and that adjusts the pressure on the seat. Now, being a John Deere, this will be closed centre. So it'll have a little plug put up in the end here somewhere. It's either up in the outlet, or it could even be up here, depending on, they're probably just blanking plugs though there. And this is another one, but there is a blanking plug in there. Now what happens is with open centre like on a Fiat or a Ford or something like that, the oil comes from the hydraulic pump past the relief valve here and continues on to tank. So whilst ever the tractor's running, this oil is just going round and round and round and round, and when you want it to go and do something, instead of letting it come out the end here, you either move the spool and it either comes out this one or it comes out that one, or and you do your function. So the oil is locked up, and the return, you'll see actually bugger all oil coming out the return. There will be some, but bugger all coming out the return, and all the load is put into here. So when the load gets to 2000 pound, the relief valve will blow, so you don't blow the gear pump up. And so this control valve here, once the load from here gets to 2000 pound, this pops off the seat, and this just bypasses oil back to the sump. So you'll know when you pull the lever, you pull it and you'll see movement. Then when you get right to the end of the stroke, you hear it buzzing. Well, that's blowing the relief valve here. So what you do with the John Deere, it's closed centre. So what happens is the oil comes in here, it comes and stops, blocks. It doesn't go anywhere else. It just comes straight through. Because it's closed centre, the pressure in the whole system here back to the pump builds up. The pump has a D-stroke valve in it. The pump says, oh, we're up to 2300 pound now. I'll D-stroke the pump. So the pump D-strokes. The mistake, then when you use your levers, some of this high pressure oil comes out here, and the port opens, one of these other port opens up to return oil, and it returns it back to sump. So what you need to do with the John Deere with closed centre is this valve here needs to be set higher than the pump pressure. So if your pump, let's just say on a 2140, 1640, 2030, so anything like that, the main pump pressure at the front will be around 2350 pounds per square inch. So this here, if this is set at 2000 pound, well, instead of the pump reaching maximum pressure and shutting down, de-stroking, oil bypasses through here all the time. So when the pump's putting in 2300 here, this says, oh shit, we're at 2000 pound now, I better let some through. So it lets oil out here, and this valve gets hot, you cook your oil up, you cook your O-rings, it's just not what you do. So On a closed centre tractor, as in a John Deere, you wind this up so that this is set above the pump D-stroke valve. So if you cap this off, put a gauge in where the oil's coming in here, and your pump's set at 2300, 2400, whatever it is, you wind this in so there's no bypass, or else you'll be driving along and you'll feel this valve and you think, holy shit, that's hot. And the customer, or well, I don't have customers anymore, but and the customers, they say, oh, my loader, my steering's notchy, and my linkage is shuddering going up, and my loader's shaky, and things like that. Well, because of the leak that's built into this valve here, your reservoir on the top of your radiator doesn't get a chance to build up enough oil to for the pump to lift instantly. So on a closed centre tractor, this, on a John Deere particularly, this valve needs to be set higher than the pump D-stroke valve. And I often, these will come probably set at 2,000 pounds. Your pump will be, if it's a 2650 or a 2850, one of the late ones with hydrostatic steering, your oil will be at 2,900 pound. So, and this will really cook this up. So you need to set this higher than your pump D-stroke valve. That's what, pardon me, that's the message I'm trying to get through. So it doesn't matter if it's 100 pound higher or 200 pound higher. I've worked on tractors out bush where I haven't had a gauge, and I've just screwed this in until it all come good, and away you go home. So that's something to consider. Yeah, look, when you're looking at that. So now we'll shut the camera down. We'll wash all these parts up. We'll use a bit of brake cleaner, and I might jump over onto the computer and see if this is a Bearco valve, see if these boots are available. If not, I'll ring Richie in town, and I'll go to my O-ring kits. I'm sure I would have O-ring, well, never say never, but I think I would have O-rings here that we could reseal this up. So, okay, we'll see you when we're ready to play again.